if I'm checked back here. Okay, sorry about that. This is your American English pronunciation review show where you send us files for review and we give you some help, some guidance, some ways to kind of check and try to achieve the accent that you are looking for. And to guide you in this process, there's me. Hi, my name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath. That's one of the 4 keys to a natural sound in American English, including placement, pitch, breath, trying to weaken your consonant sounds in order to strengthen your vowel sounds. I have 2 more files for you today. I do want to thank everyone who's been sending us files. You can send us files yourself for review in a future episode of the Schwa Mill. If you go to the video description, you'll see a link to a Telegram group that is free. You can send your audio there. We receive it, and then we use it potentially in a future episode. So if you're trying to get some feedback for yourself, that might be something that is worth considering. All right, let's take a listen to our first clip for today to see what sort of feedback we can give.
I've told you time and time again, Stacy. Brett doesn't want to date with you because you're not his type. Capiche?
Okay, and let's play that one more time.
I've told you time and time again, Stacy. Brett doesn't want to date with you because you're not his type. Capiche?
Okay. Thanks again for sending us this file. Just a quick little grammar thing. Instead of like date with someone, it's just date someone. So you don't need the preposition. Like you would just need to say like Brett doesn't want to date you. Besides that, some pronunciation things I'm hearing.
I've told you time and time again, Stacy. Brett doesn't want to date with you because you're not his type. Capiche?
Okay. So lots of things to like here. The first thing that jumps out to me is notice this opening sequence. One of the things that's happening is a very, very, very common pitch pattern that we see in American English, which is our descending pattern. I'll try to give an example.
I've told you time and time again, Stacy.
Just that little sequence there. I've told you time and time again, Stacy. Like that movement down, 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 down. That's a very, very, very common pitch pattern in American English where you start high, you have a thought group, like I've told you time and time again, Stacy. It's like each one of these thought groups, as we transition to the next one, you shift lower in pitch. What we don't want to do in American English, what you don't want to do is when you change thought groups, you continue staying at the same level. You don't want to say this as I've told you time and time again, Stacy. Like that's going to sound very flat to your listener and actually be a little bit challenging to understand. By having that pitch movement downwards, things become much easier to understand, but also much more natural as well.
I've told you time and time again, Stacy. Brett doesn't want to date with you because you're not his type. Capiche?
Okay. I also like capiche as the tag question there at the end. And notice what's happening intonation wise on the word capiche.
I've told you time and time again, Stacy. Brett doesn't want to date with you because you're not his type. Capiche?
So like capiche, 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 like that little waver there with the fall rise. Very common for tag questions. It's a way of kind of adding a little bit of emotion to what you're saying. In this case, emotion like I'm telling you something, you just have to accept it. Got it? Like you're making sure that you're letting them know that hey, this is it. Okay, this is the reality. There's no other option. Okay. Some other things that stand out from this file.
I've told you time and time again, Stacy. Brett doesn't want to date with you because you're not his type. Capiche?
Yeah. I was checking out that placement on the word you. That ooh sound. Look, if you're watching this, your first language probably has an ooh sound. Okay, it's not unique to English. Most languages have an ooh sound, but the ooh sound in American English is probably sounding a little bit different than it does in your first language. A lot of times in other people's languages, it's sounding closer to like an ooh or something like that, where you may get some really rounded lips. Ooh, 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 things like that with a lot of blocked breath as well. In American English, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be a pretty open sound. You don't even need to really round your lips. You can keep things relatively down or straight. And again, like ooh, ooh, ooh. This is kind of the sound we're going for. When we're saying, for instance, like you, like doesn't want to date you, doesn't want to date you, versus if it's a high placement, you might end up with a sound like doesn't want to date you, doesn't want to date you. One of the things you may notice it actually ends up if you round the lips and you raise the placement and you block the breath, you can end up with a sound that is more typical of British English. than American. But could the placement in our example file here go a little bit lower on you? It could, but overall, I think this is okay. All right, one last listen before we move on.
I've told you time and time again, Stacy. Brett doesn't want to date with you because you're not his type. Capiche?
Yeah, here's some more opportunities for some linking as well. It's like because you are not. Uh, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with saying that. If you're looking to incorporate more reductions in linking, you could say because you're not, instead of saying because you are not, you just say because you're not, or even you could just say because you're not. You don't even need the be because in this situation right here. The final thing that stands out to me is just notice how we start.
I've told you time and time again.
We start with the sigh. One of the things I often call signals like this. It's like if you start like, I've told you, like starting off with something like that, it sends a lot of information to your listener before you've even said the word. I often call situations like this like frames because what they do is they give context for everything you're about to say. You know, if I start off by saying, you made it, that initial shows surprise versus if I do, you made it. That can either show relief or potentially frustration and things like that. So, using breath as a tool to give emotional context and layers to what you say is a very helpful device. All right, thank you so much for sending us our first file. Before we take a look at our second file for today, I do just want to again remind people that, hey, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you want to watch this on YouTube in the future, you may see an option to join the channel. What does that actually mean? What that means is you get to study all the core concepts of pronunciation, things like elements of contrast like pitch and speed, placement, breath, and techniques for weakening your consonant sounds. Because let's face it, most pronunciation channels that you're going to find online are not talking about any of these things. They're going to be talking about where to put your tongue and how wide your mouth should be and things like that. They're missing the whole core. So if you're interested in trying to find out what really changes your pronunciation at a foundational level, you can become a channel member and watch all of our group coaching classes. Our group coaching classes are very, very frequent. I'm going to put on screen the schedule, so if you're watching this online, you'll be able to see it. But basically, every single day, multiple times a day, we're talking about these core concepts. And the best part is you get to hear my students and you get to see the changes that they make. And then you can try doing the same things for yourself. So you get to see how these changes, how lowering the placement, how adding breath, how changing your pitches, how things like that make you actually end up sounding much, much more natural. And the best part is because channel members, you get a big discount. You can't appear with me on screen, but you get to interact, you get to ask questions, and you get to watch all the previous classes too. So just something to consider there. All right, let's take a listen to our final file for today. It's a short one.
Do you want to talk about something?
Okay, play it one more time.
Do you want to talk about something?
Okay. I mentioned in the title of this video, I don't know what these sorts of sounds, I'll be honest. There is probably a much more scientific name for this in the linguistic world, but I don't know what that sound would be. So I'm calling it a ghost sound. And when I say ghost sound, what I mean is we add vowel sounds that actually aren't there. And you can hear an example in this audio file.
Do you want to talk about something?
Okay. You can hear it on the word something, except she is not saying something. What is she saying?
Do you want to talk about something?
Okay. She is saying something. Do you see we're adding that schwa sound after the letter M? Okay. What's up, Tagachi? I'm hanging out with us. This happens a lot in a couple of situations. This happens, for instance, for a lot of languages. You see this with some Romance languages. You see this also with a lot of Asian languages, where having a consonant that glides right into certain other consonants can't happen. You need to have a vowel in there. That's why a lot of times, like if you look at American words put into like Japanese, you'll see they add a lot of vowel sounds after consonants, right? Because it has to fit the music of the language, and Japanese needs a lot of consonant vowel situations. In American English, that's not necessary. You can go right from some consonants to some vowels. So, for instance, something, I can go right from an sound into a th, without adding any vowels. So we want to be careful of situations like that. So instead of saying something, it's going to be something. For my Spanish speakers, Portuguese speakers, another very common situation is when a word starts with an S and a consonant. A common example would be the word like school. A lot of times, Portuguese speakers or Spanish speakers will say like escola and things like that because in Portuguese and Spanish, you can't just start with an S and a consonant. So watch out for that. It's not escool, it's just school. Another common situation where this occurs is when we link onto some certain consonant sounds. For instance, when some vowels want to link with the letter N, we want to make sure we're not adding a schwa sound. So, for instance, a word like pain. The way some people are saying pain is they're saying pain. Such a pain versus such a pain. So, we want to watch out for that. Another example with the letter N would be like the word moon. This is especially true. I see a lot with, again, Asian languages, thinking like Korean. The word moon is not going to be moon, moon. It's moon, moon. One little caveat to this is the letter L. When the letter L in American English goes after a long vowel, for instance, like an oo sound or an a sound, what happens is you pronounce your long vowel and then you finish with an o. So, for instance, the word male, male, like I got some mail. That a sound is a long vowel. So when I finish with a dark L, I need to separate ale, male. Another example would be like the oo sound. So like tool, tool. I don't say tool, I say tool. I have to after a long vowel plus the letter L. I need to make sure I add a little o sound at the end. Ool, tool, school, cool, and things like that. So watch out for these sorts of situations. Again, most often in American English, you don't need to add some extra vowel sounds when you have consonant clusters or when you're starting with consonant clusters and things like that. So just be careful not to do that. But do watch out for long vowels plus the letter L. And we have more information about that on the channel, of course. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Look, there's a lot of pronunciation resources out there. I'm very much aware of that. So the fact that you spent some time here with me today is greatly appreciated. Again, the Schwa Mill meets Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays right around 7 a.m. New York time. So we hope to catch you in a future episode. I hope you guys have a good day. You have a good night and a good afternoon. You all take care.